Welcome back to News Talk. DC United is headed to the MLS playoffs. That's the good news. The bad news is the team was blown out badly in their last game and as a result must now survive a play-in game to advance to the next round. Our soccer analyst, Coach Richard Broad, joins us now. He was the longtime coach at George Mason. Welcome back. Good to have you with us.
Always good to be here, Bruce.
Exciting to have any local team go to the playoffs. I'm looking forward to seeing DC United in action. But talk to us. I'm really curious to get from you a sense of what the blowout loss to Columbus means for the club as it heads to the postseason.
I think it's the best thing that could happen. You've got a lot of experienced pros. DC United's been in the playoffs 3 of the last 4 years. They know what the playoffs are all about. They're going to be fired up, and they've got the coach, Ben Olsen, will get them motivated to put that behind them and get on with it. I think they've got something to prove. I think if I was Ben Olsen, obviously you'd want to be having a bye, but if you have to play in this opening round, what could be a better time to make amends for what happened this past Sunday?
What happened in that 5-0 loss?
Sometimes when it rains, it pours. And they were playing a team that had just as much motivation as DC United did. Columbus is now the team with a bye. And DC United's history in Columbus is not very good. You go in a home team, and 5-0 is not the difference between DC United and anybody. But most of the games this year, DC United, I think, has had 18 one-goal games. But sometimes it just snowballs. Ethan Finley scored 2 goals within like a minute and a half. And it just happens. You make mistakes. You're eager to get back. You overcompensate. And Bill Hamid in the goal for DC United can be spectacular, but he also can have bad runs. He had a bad game. I think they wiped the slate clean. They come back. They're ready to go against New England. What could be better scenario?
In theory, no one needs to get up for the playoffs. That's what you fight for all year, and it's the beginning of a process that can take you toward the title. That said, a loss where you're embarrassed, where you're really outclassed, can maybe, I suppose, provide that little something extra that when you get late into a game and the tank is starting to, physically you're wiped, it's something you can tap for that extra boost.
Well, people seem to forget that DC United was leading not only the Eastern Division, but all of MLS soccer for most of the year. They suffered a bad spell starting in September. They won 2 games before this loss to Columbus last weekend, and they're a very good side. I think all the cards are in favor of DC United going into this game.
You've seen New England. What are you looking for in the knockout? I'm calling it the play-in game. It's really the knockout game. What are you looking for?
New England is a strong, physical team. Under Jay Heaps, he's a former player in MLS. He played under John Rennie at Duke. He's an athletic, physical guy. Teams take on the personality of the coach. New England has taken on the personality of Jay Heaps. They have some strong physical defenders. They play a defensive style of game, and they rely on Charlie Davies. That's a name that's familiar to DC United fans. He had a good spell here coming back from his serious injury. He's going to be eager to come back. He's got a lot of friends here in DC United. They're going to rely heavily on him, and Lee Wynn is their spark plug up top. But they're a defensive team. They like to pack it in and counterattack. It's hard to do that on the other team's field. A lot easier to do it on your home field. New England is going to be a defensive team. I look for a low-scoring game, but I look for DC United to take the action to them.
The winner gets New York.
The winner gets New York. Congratulations on your prize. The New York Red Bulls are a great story. Now, they seem to be on their way last year under Mike Petke, and he did a good job. He had Thierry Henry sparking the team and getting Henry retired. And surprisingly enough, Mike Petke was let go. They brought in Jesse Marsh, who I know from Princeton, and Jesse Marsh did a great job. Not a good job, but a great job with an expansion team in Montreal. Was let go because the owner didn't like the philosophy of the team. Jesse went back to Princeton as an assistant coach for 2 years under Jim Barlow. He was really well received there. He did a lot to really help Princeton, who was tied for the Ivy title last year. And then out of the blue, he's hired by Ali Curtis, the new general manager there, and he did a great job again with the New York Red Bulls. So the prize of winning in the knockout round, which I think DC United's going to do, is to play the Red Bulls. I think they'd much rather play Columbus and make amends. But again, you get the New York Red Bulls. The Red Bulls did not run away with MLS this year. They are the winners of the Supporters' Shield for the team that accumulates the most points, but they didn't dominate the league by any means. DC United can go far in the playoffs, Bruce.
Do you worry about the lack of rest? Do you worry about the extra match squeezed in by virtue of dropping out of the top two?
I believe it's 29 games this year. DC United used a different lineup. 29 out of 34 games you play in the regular season. One of the things that Ben Olsen did during the season was he played a basic group for the MLS competition and another group playing in the Cup competition. So the players should be rested. This is a deep DC United team. I have no idea. I haven't heard. I don't know who they're going to be starting, but they have a lot of options. Is it going to be Steve Birnbaum in the back or Kofi Afari? You have a lot of choices, a lot of options to play, and I think the team is well equipped to play with not that much rest.
How many teams entering the postseason have a viable shot at going deep?
12.
You think it's wide open? You see no overarching favor.
Bruce, the thing about MLS is it's so competitive, it's so close, and there's not that much separating the teams. For example, Philadelphia, I think, was the first team, or maybe the second team, eliminated from the Eastern Division playoffs. They won 10 games this year. And there's nobody way down at the bottom. A few years ago, DC United had a very difficult season, winning 3 or 4 games. But the difference is really close. In the Western Conference, there are 4 teams vying for the last 3 spots. Any one of these teams can go through. I think it was LA in 2012. LA went to the knockout round and went all the way through.
How much are you looking forward to the new stadium?
Oh, that's going to be a big plus,
I think
Bruce. That's going to be great. It's down there in an area. Look what the development has done for what the National Stadium's done for development down there. It's going to be a great thing. It's going to be a real plus. We're like DC's the last in line to build a soccer-specific stadium.
To be able to pack a venue, you know, the size of the crowd is what it is, but when it's a capacity, it's just a whole different energy.
There's a whole different energy in Columbus, wasn't it? That's one of the first of the soccer-specific stadiums to go in, and you've got them all over everywhere. Yeah. And probably the only one that isn't soccer-specific is Portland, who I scout for. And beyond me, that's the best home venue in the country. Why the Timbers aren't winning more games? They should win every game at home. They should win them all by 3 goals. That's a pit to go into. Maybe we can have the same atmosphere in D.C.
It'll be great. Coach Richard Broad with the playoff preview. Thanks very much, as always. Great having you here.
Great, Bruce. Enjoyed it.
Back with the program note after this.